The autumn sun cast long shadows across the vineyard as I stood at the iron gates of Silver Creek Estate. 10 years ago, I'd walked away from this place with nothing but a backpack and my grandfather's old watch. Now I was back as the owner, though my family didn't know it yet. My phone buzzed, another message from Mom. Family meeting tonight, your brother Michael has big news about saving the vineyard. Please come. I smiled, knowing what that big news would be. Michael, their golden child, was planning to invest $2 million to save the vineyard they'd lost to foreclosure last month. What they didn't know was that Phoenix Agricultural Holdings, my company, had already purchased it 3 days ago for $12.7 million. The gravel crunched under my boots as I walked up the familiar path. Everything looked exactly as it had a decade ago, except now the vines were untended, the equipment gathering rust. Dad's pride and joy reduced to this. Mr. Harrison, a voice called out. It was Martinez, our old vineyard manager now working for me. The auditors found something in the old financial records. You need to see this. I followed him to the estate office where 3 accountants were poring over decades of paperwork. The lead auditor, Sarah Chen, looked up as I entered. We've uncovered systematic fraud dating back 5 years. Someone was siphoning money from the vineyard accounts. Millions of dollars. Show me, I said, taking the folder she handed me. The numbers told a story that made my blood run cold. Regular transfers to offshore accounts, falsified production reports, and at the center of it all, my brother Michael's signature. There's more, Martinez said quietly. We found these in the wine cellar. He placed a stack of letters on the desk. They were from various wine merchants, complaining about diluted and counterfeit wines being sold under the Silver Creek label. Each complaint had been quietly buried with hefty payoffs. The family legacy my grandfather had built was being destroyed from within. Now I understood why they'd really lost the vineyard, and why Michael was so desperate to save it. My phone buzzed again. Mom, everyone's here. Where are you? I gathered the documents and headed toward the main house. Through the windows I could see them all gathered in the living room. Mom, Dad, Michael, and his wife Amanda. The perfect family picture, except for the black sheep they'd driven away. James, Mom rushed to hug me as I entered. You came. Michael has wonderful news. I took a seat by the fireplace, noticing how they'd positioned me apart from the others. Some things never changed. As you know, Michael began, straightening his expensive tie. The bank foreclosed on Silver Creek last month. But I've been working on a solution. I'm prepared to invest $2 million to buy back the vineyard and restore our family legacy. Mom wiped away tears. Dad clasped Michael's shoulder proudly. Amanda beamed at her husband. That's very generous, I said calmly. But there's a problem. What problem? Michael's smile flickered. I placed my phone on the coffee table and pulled up the property deed. Silver Creek was purchased 3 days ago by Phoenix Agricultural Holdings, my company. The silence was absolute. Then everyone started talking at once. Your company? What do you mean your company? That's impossible. I held up my hand. I left 10 years ago because I saw what was happening to grandfather's legacy. While you were living in luxury, I was building something real. Phoenix now owns 15 wineries across 3 continents. And yes, we bought Silver Creek for considerably more than your $2 million, Michael. You had no right. Michael stood up, face reddening. This is our family legacy. A legacy you destroyed, I replied, opening the folder of documents. Would you like to explain these financial records? The offshore accounts, the counterfeit wines. Michael went pale. Amanda gasped. Mom started crying again, but for a different reason now. I don't know what you're talking about, Michael stammered. The auditors found everything, brother. Every transfer, every fake label, every buried complaint. You've been bleeding this place dry for years. That's why we lost it. Not because of market conditions or bad luck, but because of your greed. Dad picked up one of the financial statements with trembling hands. Michael, is this true? Of course not. He's lying. He's always been jealous. The police have copies of everything. I cut in. They're very interested in wine fraud on this scale, not to mention tax evasion. Michael lunged for the documents, but Martinez and 2 security guards appeared in the doorway. Mr. Harrison? Martinez asked. Should we escort him out? No need yet. I stood up. I came back to save grandfather's legacy. The right way. The vineyards will be restored, the wines will be pure again, and Silver Creek's reputation will be rebuilt. You can't do this to me, Michael snarled. To us. We're family. Family? I laughed without humor. Let's talk about family. 10 years ago when I warned you all about the problems I'd found in the books, what did you do? You called me a liar. A troublemaker. Dad said I was trying to ruin Michael's future out of jealousy. Mom said I was breaking her heart. So I left with nothing and built my own future. I turned to my parents. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here to save what grandfather built. You can stay in the house. It's your home. But the business belongs to Phoenix now, and we'll run it properly. And Michael? Mom asked in a small voice. That depends on him. The police have the evidence. But if he cooperates, pays back what he stole, there might be a way forward. I looked at my brother. Your choice. Michael slumped in his chair, the fight going out of him. How much do they know? Everything. Including what really happened the night grandfather died. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. Dad turned away. They'd all known, I realized. They'd all protected Michael, chosen him over the truth. Over me, over everything our family was supposed to stand for. Martinez, I called. Please show the investigators in. As two police detectives entered the room, I walked to the window. Below, the vineyard stretched out in the fading light. I could almost see grandfather there, teaching me about the vines, about patience, about doing things the right way. You'll need to come with us, Mr. Harrison, one detective said to Michael. James, my father spoke for the first time in minutes. Save it, I said quietly. We've got work to do, real work. The harvest starts next week, and Silver Creek needs to remind the world what it once was, what it can be again. As they led Michael away, Mom collapsed into Dad's arms, sobbing. Amanda followed her husband, already on the phone with their lawyer. I stayed by the window, watching the sun set over the vines. Martinez appeared at my side. The audit team needs your signature on some documents, and the new equipment arrives tomorrow. I nodded, turning away from the window. The past was done. Tomorrow was about rebuilding, about proving that success doesn't have to come at the cost of integrity. Grandfather had taught me that, even if the rest of the family had forgotten. Oh. One more thing, Martinez added. We found something else in the cellar. A bottle of the 82 Reserve, your grandfather's last vintage. I smiled. Save it. When Silver Creek is back where it should be, we'll open it. A toast to doing things the right way. As I walked out of the house, I felt lighter than I had in years. The truth was finally out. Justice would be served, and most importantly, Silver Creek would live again. Not as a symbol of family betrayal, but as proof that sometimes, coming home means rebuilding everything from the ground up. The first stars were appearing in the darkening sky as I reached my car. Tomorrow would bring investigators, reporters, endless questions. But tonight, in the quiet of the vineyard, I could almost hear grandfather's voice. The vines don't lie, boy. Take care of them, they'll take care of you. That's the only secret there is. I touched his old watch on my wrist. I did it, grandfather. I brought it back. And this time, we'll do it right. The morning after Michael's arrest, Silver Creek erupted into chaos. News vans lined the entrance, reporters shouting questions through the iron gates. Inside, forensic accountants filled the estate office, while police investigators combed through the wine cellar. I sat in grandfather's old study, now my office, reviewing the preliminary police report. The scope of Michael's fraud was staggering. Nearly $8 million siphoned off over 5 years, hundreds of bottles of counterfeit wine sold to collectors worldwide, and a web of fake companies created to hide it all. A knock at the door interrupted my reading. Come in. Detective Sarah Wilson entered, her expression grim. Mr. Harrison, we need to discuss your grandfather's death. I'd been dreading this conversation. You found something in the medical records. She placed a file on my desk. The original autopsy report was altered. Your grandfather didn't die of natural causes. There were traces of digitalis in his system. Heart medication, but he wasn't prescribed any. My hands clenched. The night he died, he'd called me, said he'd discovered something serious about the business. Needed to talk. I was driving here when Mom called to say he'd had a heart attack. Your brother's fingerprints were found on a bottle of digitalis in the old wine cellar. We believe your grandfather discovered the fraud and confronted him. The implications hit me like a physical blow. Not just fraud, but murder. My own brother. Martinez burst in without knocking. Sir, you need to see this. Your parents are giving a press conference at the gates. I followed him to the security room, where multiple screens showed the scene unfolding. Mom and Dad stood before the reporters, Dad looking aged beyond his years. We are devastated by these revelations, he was saying. We had no knowledge of Michael's actions, but we want to express our full support for James and his efforts to restore Silver Creek. We failed him once. We won't fail him again. Mom stepped forward, tears in her eyes. To our younger son, we're sorry. We should have listened 10 years ago. We chose wrong, and we lost you. Please give us a chance to make it right. I switched off the monitors. Martinez, what's the situation with the new equipment? Arriving this afternoon. The crew's ready to start clearing the neglected sections. But sir, your parents, let them wait. We have work to do. But as I turned to leave, Detective Wilson blocked my path. There's something else. We found this in your grandfather's personal safe. She handed me an envelope, yellowed with age. It's addressed to you. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a letter, dated the day before he died. My dear James, if you're reading this, something has happened to me. I've discovered irregularities in our accounts that point to serious fraud. Michael is involved, but I fear it goes deeper. Trust no one, until you know the whole truth. Remember what I taught you about the vines. They don't lie, neither should we. I've left something for you, hidden where we used to watch the harvest moon rise. You'll know what to do with it. I'm proud of you, boy. You have the strength to do what's right, even when it's hard. Silver Creek will need that strength someday. All my love, grandfather. The harvest moon rise, I muttered. Of course, I headed out to the eastern vineyard, to the old oak tree where grandfather and I used to sit. The harvest moon would rise there, huge and orange, and he'd tell me stories about the vineyard's history. At the base of the tree was a hollow only we knew about. Reaching in, my fingers found metal, a small lockbox. Inside were documents, photographs, and a USB drive. Detective, I called to Wilson, who'd followed me. You need to see this. The documents revealed a deeper conspiracy. Michael hadn't acted alone. There were photos of him meeting with competitors, evidence of a larger wine counterfeiting ring, and most damning, emails between Michael and Amanda plotting to take control of Silver Creek, discussing how to handle grandfather if he discovered their scheme. This changes everything, Wilson said. We'll need to bring Amanda in for questioning. Do it. And detective, let me tell my parents first. I found them still waiting by the gates, looking lost and small against the mansion's grand facade. Come inside, I said. There's more you need to know. In grandfather's study, I showed them everything. The autopsy report, the evidence of premeditated murder, Amanda's involvement. Mom collapsed into a chair, while Dad aged another decade before my eyes. All this time, he whispered. We defended him, chose him over you, and he killed Dad. Why didn't you tell us your suspicions back then? Mom asked through tears. I tried. You didn't want to hear it. Michael was perfect. I was just jealous. Remember, we were blind, Dad said. Willfully blind. Can you ever forgive us? I looked at them. Really looked at them. For the first time in years. They were old now, broken by truth too long denied. I don't know, I answered honestly. But grandfather believed in second chances. So do I. If you want to help rebuild Silver Creek, really help, there's work to be done. Anything, Mom said. Just tell us how. First we need to face the media. Tell the whole truth, no matter how painful. Then we start fixing what Michael broke. Not just the vineyard, but our reputation, our relationships with suppliers and customers. And Amanda? Dad asked. The police are picking her up now. She'll face justice too. As if on cue, my phone buzzed. A news alert. Amanda had been arrested trying to board a private jet with $3 million in cash, and a collection of rare wines. Martinez appeared in the doorway. "Sir, the new equipment's here, and you might want to see this." He led us to the main entrance, where a crowd had gathered, not reporters this time, but local vineyard workers. Many had lost their jobs when Michael's fraud caused Silver Creek to fail. Their spokesman stepped forward. "Mr. Harrison, we heard you're rebuilding. We want to help. This place, it's not just your family's legacy, it's our community's heart." I looked at these people, who'd suffered because of my family's failures. They deserved better. We all did. "The work starts now," I announced. "It'll be hard, but we'll do it right this time. Anyone who wants to be part of rebuilding Silver Creek, properly and honestly, is welcome." A cheer went up. Martinez began organizing teams, directing people to different areas of the vineyard. Mom and Dad quietly joined a group clearing overgrown vines. As the sun set that evening, I stood on the terrace watching the transformation begin. Equipment hummed, voices called back and forth, and for the first time in years, Silver Creek felt alive again. Detective Wilson joined me. "We've found evidence linking Michael and Amanda to wine fraud operations in 3 countries. They'll both be going away for a long time." "Good. The truth needs to come out, all of it. And your parents." I watched them working alongside the crews, sleeves rolled up, finally doing honest labor. "They're trying. It's a start. Your grandfather would be proud," she said. "Not many people have the courage to rebuild after something like this." I touched his old watch. He taught me that real strength isn't in hiding truth, but in facing it. Silver Creek lost its way, but we'll find it again. One vine, one bottle, one day at a time. As twilight deepened, the harvest moon rose over the eastern vineyard, huge and orange just like in my memories. Somewhere, I hoped grandfather was watching, knowing his legacy was finally in the right hands. The next morning would bring more challenges: investigators, reporters, the task of rebuilding trust in our brand. But tonight, watching the moon rise over rows of ancient vines, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Hope. Silver Creek would rise again, not built on lies this time, but on the foundation grandfather had always intended: hard work, honest wine, and the unshakable truth that some legacies are worth saving no matter the cost. 3 months after Michael and Amanda's arrest, I sat in the courthouse, watching my brother's sentencing. The evidence had been overwhelming: fraud, conspiracy, and most damningly, grandfather's murder. 25 years, the judge announced. No possibility of parole for 15. Michael turned to look at me, his face a mask of hatred. Amanda, already sentenced to 12 years for her role, had refused to even attend his hearing. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. "Mr. Harrison, how does it feel knowing your brother killed your grandfather? Silver Creek's stock has risen 40% since you took control." Comments. "Will your parents remain involved in the business?" I raised my hand for silence. Silver Creek isn't about scandal or family drama. It's about wine, honest wine, made the right way. That's what my grandfather believed in, and that's what we're returning to. No further questions. Back at the vineyard, transformation was underway. New vines were being planted, the winery modernized, and our first honest harvest in years was approaching. But rebuilding trust was harder than rebuilding infrastructure. "Another cancellation," Martinez reported, handing me a letter. 4 more restaurants dropping our wines. They're worried about reputation." "How many is that now?" 38. "But sir, there's something else. The wine critics are here." I'd invited the world's top wine critics to witness our new operation. Complete transparency, every step of production, open to inspection. It was risky, but necessary. In the main tasting room, 5 renowned critics waited. Their verdict could make or break our future. "Mr. Harrison," the most famous critic, James Morton, began, "your family's fraud shook the wine world. Why should anyone trust Silver Creek again?" I poured them each a glass of our new vintage. "Don't trust my words, trust the wine." They tasted in silence. Morton's eyebrows rose. He took another sip. "This is extraordinary. Pure, complex, honest. The Silver Creek I remember from 20 years ago." The others nodded agreement. Morden continued, but one good vintage isn't enough. How do we know this isn't another show? Follow me, I said. I led them through the vineyard, showing our new quality control systems, the triple verification process for every bottle, the blockchain tracking from vine to wine. Finally, I took them to the old cellar. This vault contained thousands of counterfeit bottles, I explained. We destroyed them all. But there's something else you should see. Opening a hidden door, I revealed a small room. My grandfather's private collection, untouched, authentic, dating back to 1952. We're using these as our benchmark to prove Silver Creek can be great again. Morden picked up a 1982 bottle reverently. The legendary last vintage your grandfather produced. Would you like to taste it? The tasting that followed was almost spiritual. As the critics savored grandfather's wine, I saw in their faces what I'd hoped for, recognition of what Silver Creek could be, should be. Morden set down his glass. Mr. Harrison, you've convinced me. Silver Creek isn't just back, it's better than ever. You have my word, the wine world will know. After they left, I found my parents in the vineyard, working alongside the crew. They'd insisted on learning every aspect of production, determined to understand the business they'd neglected for so long. The critics left smiling, Mom observed. They did, but we've got bigger problems. Most of our old customers have canceled. Dad straightened up, wiping his brow. Then we'll find new ones, honest ones. A commotion at the gates interrupted us. A group of local winemakers had arrived, families who'd been in the valley for generations. Their spokesperson stepped forward. We've been talking. What happened here? With the fraud, it hurt all of us. Napa's reputation suffered. But what you're doing now, making it right, we want to help. One by one, they offered partnerships, shared distribution, joint marketing, cross-promotion of the valley's honest wines. My grandfather believed wine wasn't just about business. I told them, it's about community, about doing right by the land and the people who work it. He was right, the spokesperson said. So what do you say? Partners, looking at these proud winemakers, at my parents working the vines, at Martinez beaming with pride, I knew what grandfather would say. Partners. That evening I found a small package on my desk. Inside was a letter from Michael's former secretary. Mr. Harrison, I kept these secret for years out of fear. But you deserve to know. Your grandfather tried to warn others about the fraud. These recordings prove it. Maybe they'll help restore his name. Diana. The USB drive contained recordings of grandfather confronting Michael, threatening to expose him. The final recording was from the night he died. I'm calling James, his voice said. The truth has to come out. This ends tonight. It did end that night, but not the way he'd planned. I sent the recordings to Detective Wilson, one final piece of evidence for the appeals court to consider. Standing at my office window, watching the sun set over healthy vines, heavy with ripening grapes, I felt grandfather's presence. Martinez knocked softly. Sir, the first grapes are ready. Would you like to begin the harvest? I smiled. Get everyone together. This harvest, we do it as a family. All of us, under the harvest moon. Workers and owners, old customers and new partners, my parents and our community. We began picking the grapes that would become Silver Creek's resurrection vintage. Mom touched my arm. Your grandfather would be so proud. For once I didn't feel the old anger at her words. He was right about everything, I said. The vines don't lie, neither should we. As night fell, and the work continued under floodlights, I looked at these people who'd chosen to believe in Silver Creek again. Grandfather's legacy wasn't just in the wine, it was in the truth that bringing people together, doing things right, always matters more than doing things easy. The harvest moon shone down on our new beginning, on honest work and second chances, on a family learning that real legacy isn't what you inherit, but what you choose to build. 1 year after Michael's sentencing, I stood before a gathered crowd in Silver Creek's restored courtyard. Hundreds of people, wine merchants, critics, local families, and workers had come for the release of our Renaissance vintage. The morning sun glinted off rows of bottles, each bearing our new label, a silver oak tree with deep roots, and the words truth in every vine, beneath. In the front row Mom and Dad sat quietly, their year of hard work evident in their weathered hands and proud postures. A year ago I began. Silver Creek was a symbol of deception. Today we're something different. This vintage isn't just wine. It's a promise. Every bottle represents our commitment to honesty, quality, and community. James Morton, the wine critic who'd first believed in our revival, stepped forward to conduct the first public tasting. The crowd fell silent as he raised the glass. Extraordinary, he announced. This isn't just a return to form. It's Silver Creek's finest vintage ever. The truth, it seems, has a remarkable bouquet. Applause erupted. As staff began serving tastings, Martinez appeared at my side. Sir, there's something you need to see. We found it while renovating the old oak tree viewing platform. In a hidden compartment, we discovered a small leather journal, grandfather's private diary. The final entry was dated the day of his death. My dear James will understand someday. I've left him not just a vineyard, but a truth. Legacy isn't in the soil, or even the wine. It's in the courage to stand for what's right. Silver Creek's future is safe in his hands. He has what Michael never did, not just skill, but soul. Mom found me reading it, tears in her eyes. We received a letter from Michael, she said softly. He's admitted everything, even things we didn't know. He's asking for forgiveness. And what do you think about that? She straightened her shoulders. I think forgiveness is earned, not given, just like trust. Dad joined us, holding a special bottle, the 82 reserve we'd saved. It's time, he said. Before the crowd, we opened grandfather's last vintage. As Martinez poured 3 glasses, I raised mine high. To Silver Creek, not as it was, but as it should be. To truth in every vine. And to the man who taught me that legacy isn't what you inherit, but what you choose to build. The wine was perfect, complex, honest, true, just like the path forward. That evening, after the crowds left, I walked the moonlit vineyard with Martinez. The vines stretched endlessly, heavy with promise. The pre-orders are unprecedented, he reported, and the wine schools want you to lecture on ethical production. Silver Creek is becoming a model for the industry. I touched grandfather's watch. We've done it right this time. Yes, sir. By the way, that young intern you hired, the one who reminds you of yourself at that age, he's found some interesting ways to improve our sustainable practices. I smiled. Good, Silver Creek's future will need new vision too. Speaking of which, I handed Martinez an envelope. Inside was his promotion to general manager. Sir, you stood by Silver Creek through everything. Time you had a proper stake in its future. As the harvest moon rose over the eastern vineyard, I thought about legacy, not just grandfather's or mine, but the one we were all building together. Every honest bottle, every truthful transaction, every person who chose to believe in redemption. This was the real inheritance. Mom and Dad were waiting on the terrace, another letter from Michael in their hands. Whatever it said could wait. Tonight was for celebrating how far we'd come, not dwelling on past shadows. The 82 reserve, Dad said, holding up his glass. We saved it for the right moment. No, I corrected him. We saved it for the right future. The wine caught the moonlight, glowing like liquid silver. Somewhere I knew, grandfather was smiling. His beloved Silver Creek hadn't just survived, it had found its soul again. And in the end, that was the greatest vintage of all. The end.